At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. Welcome everybody to Dave Cooper Live. So, when one group believes that they are bringing the building industry together to achieve high performance and resilient buildings and communities, and the other is focused on completing projects efficiently and profitably, why should there be conflict? Today, we're dispelling the myths of building code officials versus builders, and that includes the prefab folk people out there. So please welcome International Code Council Chief Executive Officer Dominic Sims and Vice President Innovation Ryan Coker as they discuss how their work addresses the big challenges both industry and society is facing and why they are particularly interested in off-site construction. But as always, we got to give a huge shout out to our good friends Cobalt Creed, who is powering up all of these conversations. Cobalt is the dealer distributor for the Unico system, a small duct, energy efficient central HVAC for homes and business where space is at a premium. You got to reach out to Sean and Tagliata. He's been in this industry a long time, and he spends a lot of time supporting us as well. But also, let's just give a shout out to these sponsors. Stream Modular, the only logistics company you need to transport your mods, pods, and panels. Our friends at Stream Modular are investing $50 million over the next 25 years to build the technology, solutions, and trailers needed to handle and transport the projects of today and meet the demands of tomorrow. Reach out to their team at streammodular.com to discuss your next project. CombiLift is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, a leader in long load handling solutions offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. CombiLift helps companies of all sizes and from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big thank you to Paul Short and the team at CombiLift for helping us all to build it better. Visit them at combilift.com. Ready to scale up your offsite construction business? Introducing 4A Constructs, your solution to finding skilled labor for offsite manufacturing. Say goodbye to the headache of recruiting a skilled workforce with hand-selected certified tradesmen that are expertly trained and managed for offsite manufacturing, set crews, and finish crews, ensuring maximum productivity and safety. Unlock the future of skilled workforce development for all of your offsite construction needs. Visit them at 4aconstructs.com. All right, again, we can't do any or all of this without all of our supporting members. And a big shout out to our newest supporting member, HSBC CAD, for all your design needs. So a big shout out to them. Stay tuned for more information, but we're glad you're part of the Dave Cooper Live community. All right, without further ado, let's hop in there. Let's bring Dominic Sims, CEO, and Ryan Colker onto the show. Ryan, Dominic, welcome.
Thanks, David.
Thank
Hey,
you.
your intro. If you don't get excited about that, you better check your pulse. That's a great intro.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Hey, listen, we get to hang out with exciting people, so it's not hard to do. Hey, I always say I have the best job. Here's why I have the best job. And then we're going to get into this. I have the best job because I do not hang out with anybody that says, oh, that's how we always done it, or that's how we used to do it, or that doesn't work. I don't hang out with anybody like that. I only hang out with people now that say, oh, yeah, we can be better. We can do better. We can move this industry forward. And it's not hard to get excited about that.
Sure, no, and it's frankly that's our whole message with offsite these days. Is we'll talk a little bit as we get into it. It's about changing. It's about changing the whole equation.
That's right. And Dominic, I think this is the first time that you've been on the Dave Cooper Live show, right?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Well, I ask everybody when they come on this show that we want to know a little bit about you. In fact, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born, Dominic, to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff.
Oh, well, it's been a journey for me. It's been a journey, Dave. I'm actually a native of Ohio. I was born in Youngstown, Ohio. Great place. Go Penguins. Then I spent about 20 years in Southeast Florida, director of community development in Palm Beach County. Before I came to work for the Code Council, and I've been with the Code Council about 22 years now. So
about 22 years now.
Yeah.
And you have some upcoming changing plans, and we'll get
at the end of this year, I'm gonna hang it up and move on to that next chapter in my life. But it's interesting. I was thinking about this the podcast the other day and about how offsite is really such an important strategic initiative for the Code Council. And it occurred to me that for the Code Council, at least, this isn't sort of our first rodeo. We used to work with a company. You may have heard of them, Cardinal Industries.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Cardinal Industries. I mean, they've been bought up by a number of organizations or a number of other real estate trusts. But Cardinal back in the day was a real innovator. Starting back in I think the mid 50s. But we had a relationship with Cardinal and learned a lot from them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's back in the Sears and Roebuck days, right?
Yeah.
You could catalog order your house, same time frame. There was a
For
couple
sure.
of companies doing similar. So, well, listen, we're happy to have you here with us today. Ryan, you are no stranger to the Dave Cooper Live show, and we appreciate all the time you take to come on. But Ryan, why don't you just take a minute and give everybody a quick update for those who may not know who you are and what you do, because you got innovation in front of your title. So let's hear about it for about a minute. Go for it.
Yeah, I get to think about the fun and exciting things that are happening in the industry and seeing how ICC can help advance things forward. So I've been at ICC about 6 years now, at the National Institute of Building Sciences before that, where I actually directed and established the Offsite Construction Council. Currently actually serve as chair of the Offsite Construction Council for NIBS. Was at ASHRAE before that. So really supporting advancements in the industry. And like Dom, spent a lot of time in South Florida, actually a South Florida native. So happy to be in DC now.
The weather's nicer in Florida, except for during hurricane season, of course. Absolutely. Well, let's hop into it, gentlemen. I know time is limited, so let's get into this. Dominic, let's start off with this. Let's talk about the International Code Council. Give us the history, the work, the people. What is it we really need to know about the ICC and what you're doing for the builders and the people out here that are putting it all together?
Sure, sure. And I think, well, the Code Council we're a trade association. We have about 60,000 members, and about a third of them are in the regulatory field, either state, local, or federal. About a third of them are maybe designers, like architects and engineers, and then Dave, the other third are builders or manufacturers. So, notwithstanding that the code officials play a very critical role with the Code Council. We really are a big tent, and it takes all sorts of people to achieve our mission. And our mission is simple: it's to help people make buildings better and safer. Um, and so we develop model codes and standards that support state and local regulators, as well as uh, builders and designers, to help them figure out the best way, simplest way, most cost-effective way to comply. So we develop a whole host of solutions, publications. We provide training and education, personnel certification, and I think most importantly, product evaluation and certification. And that's what really brought us to the offsite construction discussion. Was after talking to both the regulators and manufacturers, it became clear that we had to help sort of level the playing field, reduce the barriers and the regulations that are getting in the way of the offsite industry really achieving its maximum potential.
Yeah, you know what? I like what you just said. You're here to find a way to get through the noise to make offsite manufacturing
Sure.
more efficient and more uniform, really, across the states, right? Because it is so not, and it's a very hard and it's a very complex thing. And this is something that I've learned since I've really gotten more involved in doing the show and spending time with you and Ryan and so many others out there, that as simple as it seems on the surface, there's a whole lot of underlying things that happen that you can't just say, oh, well, that just makes sense, do it. It affects so many other things.
Yeah, absolutely. I got really interested in this subject several years ago. I was touring a factory that was making pods, and they happened to be hospital pods. And there was this line of pods. They were all they were finished and they were all wrapped, and they had all these tags hanging from the pods, different colored tags. And I asked the guy that was giving me the tour what all these tags are for, and he said, well, it's there's a different one for each state, and some of the big cities. He said the regulatory barriers are just enormous. So he said, so I asked him, I said, what do you think the Code Council could do to help? And he said, well, if you could reduce the, not the level of safety, just reduce some of the noise, the patchwork of regulations, help make it a little bit easier for us to understand what the rules are from place to place and state to state. He said that would be a good thing for the entire industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be, right? Because it's not being done stick by stick, pipe by pipe on site anymore.
Right.
It is done in a controlled environment with oversight and inspections. And, I'm going to ask one last question, then we want to get into the rest of the conversation. Sure. But you did make a comment about the third-party inspection, NTA, right? So yeah. NTA is now part of the International Code Council, or, at least a partner with them, however it may fall out. Why don't you explain exactly what they're about and what they do, so people out there understand that that is also a resource for them?
Sure. Yeah, no, our NTA provides plan review, inspection, and in-plant inspection for the offsite industry. And, they've been doing it for a long time. Them, along with Ryan, are really our expert team that brings a lot of knowledge to the offsite discussion, and really what's helping to drive this for us.
And Ryan, maybe you can jump on this too, because NTA, not only are they doing like the third-party reviews and inspections at the factory, but they're also a resource if you have a new product, new idea. Is that correct? Where they can help you get approvals or look at what the ideas are?
Yeah, so we have both through NTA and the ICC evaluation service, really providing solutions from sort of product level all the way through, sort of full volumetric offsite construction. So between the two of them, we can definitely find solutions to get, sort of new materials, new ideas into the marketplace. So definitely reach out and we can help support that work.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, and listen, if you're just tuning in, we are on with the International Code Council, and we will be getting to how you can get involved. This is a process that you're allowed to be involved in, and the more people we have involved working with Dominic and Ryan and the team at the ICC and NTA, I would imagine that our journey to the perfect offsite solution when it comes to code will be much quicker and faster. But it's gonna take an army of us to keep driving it forward because there's so much heavy lifting that has to be done. So, with that said, stick around. We're going to talk about how you get involved, but let's get into it, guys. What are the big challenges that both industries facing, society faces in terms of buildings? What exactly, when we talk about industry challenges and society challenges, are you guys talking about, and what are you looking at there?
Yeah, I can pick that one up to start. I mean, certainly a lot of challenges, as you indicated, at both the societal level and the industry level. Not, the biggest of which I think is the availability of affordable housing. And so, being able to deliver housing to communities is certainly a huge challenge that we're facing both as society and industry. Some of the other things that we're really looking to address, workforce availability is certainly a huge challenge for the industry, which of course then feeds into things like cost and availability of housing. Also, increased focus on sustainability and sort of the impact of design choices has on society at large. Job site safety is another one that folks are often pointing to. And really sort of bringing, all of those pieces together, it's pretty obvious that offsite construction is a key part of the solution set. And so, as Dominic mentioned, we really looked early on to identify, what are some of the barriers to advancing offsite construction. And certainly we have a role to play in that, as ICC and as sort of the basis for the model building codes and standards that are used across the country. So very conveniently, you threw up the map, which really sort of illustrates the challenge that we're facing. We have 39 states that have offsite construction programs at the state level. But as you can see from the map, sort of the greens and blues, they come in all sorts of different flavors. Some allow third-party plan review and inspection, some don't. Some cover panelized systems, some don't. Some are just commercial focused, some are just residential focused. And so, if you're thinking about investing in an offsite construction facility, you want to serve multiple different states. And so having sort of that variation across, a region really creates challenges and builds inefficiencies into the system that really don't need to be there. And then you have the states that are there in sort of the orangish yellow, where everything is left to local code departments when it comes to offsite construction. And so, sort of think about the challenge of going from community to community to sell your offsite construction project as a solution, and also having sort of different requirements for inspections and plan review from jurisdiction to jurisdiction in those states, even further cutting into the sort of inefficiencies in the offsite construction process. And so, from an ICC perspective, codes and standards and uniformity across those codes and standards is really sort of what provides opportunities to help move forward and encourage, more use of offsite construction to address, those challenges that we're looking to address.
So, I mean, let's get into it. Like, so we look at the United States and we compare it to what Europe's doing, right? So Pennsylvania is like, Sweden, and Florida is like Italy, right? Um, you guys are encompassing the entire United States. It'd be like trying to come up with one code for all of Europe. And I think this is where people really have to truly understand. It's just not about the states and the regions and what their jurisdiction is, but it also has to do with all the different climate zones. There's a lot of moving parts here that one needs to understand to have a product that could be rolled out to all of these states. I think the hard part is getting all the states to adopt just something because they all work differently.
Right, right. This is what we like to call the pursuit of one version of the truth, right? So you have one book to work out of, no matter what state you're producing a product for, or even whether you're shipping it to another country. We have offices now in Dubai, Australia, soon to be China. So there's a lot of it's a growing industry, as you know, Dave, and our sense is the more we could create a level playing field, take some of that guesswork out of the process, then the industry will thrive.
For sure. And you guys have been taking some of that guesswork out. Ryan, you have been working diligently on new codes and standards, and you guys are coming up with new resources for the building industry, like this one here, the ICC G6 2023. Tell us a little bit about some of these things that you guys have going on.
Yeah. So, when we thought about sort of solutions, obviously standards are a key way to help, sort of drive greater acceptance and adoption of offsite construction. And so, we developed standards that can hopefully sort of bring together the best practices, from the statewide programs, really get some consistency. And so we have standards 1200, 1205, and 1210, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Guideline 6 is really sort of the latest and greatest sort of thinking around how do we move the offsite construction industry forward. And so Guideline 6 focuses specifically on panelized systems and really to create really a componentized or productized approach to panelized systems. So really marrying the approach of state approvals and the ICC evaluation service type of process. So how can we get panels really approved as a product, allow for adaptability across those panels, and gain sort of greater acceptance and use, across the sort of building industry. So, how can we sort of get a panel approved with sort of various different configurations, allow a builder to say, I just want to use that panel for that project. Panel itself is already pre-approved. It meets the building code requirements. And so it really just allows sort of greater consistency and smoother processes for approvals.
So basically, it's giving us that prescriptive code that we all know from the regular site-built world that says, if I'm using this panel in this configuration, I already know what my shear wall is, my engineering is, and it can be used for that component of the building.
Yeah, you could pick it from a catalog.
It's
same as you would an HVAC system, for instance.
So if I'm a builder out there, this is a tool that I could use that would allow me to make my life easier, or a designer or an engineer or an architect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the side benefits that we see is, in the panelized space, we've been seeing some sort of reluctance to invest in automated processes just because of sort of the uncertainty relative to use of panelized systems more widely. And if we can get to a productized approach, we can help support sort of greater automation and efficiencies in the panelized space as well.
Excellent, excellent. ICC MBI 1210 2023. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this standard focuses specifically on MEP systems, so mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, really looking at what are the opportunities to get efficiencies in the factory through those systems? Are there opportunities to test within the factory rather than in the field, which can really help provide some efficiencies? Really looking at opportunities to advance energy efficiency and water conservation through offsite construction. Again, being sort of more diligent about the systems that are being able to use, how they come together, and are there testing opportunities in the factory that sort of makes that more efficient?
We're seeing a lot more on this show, and we're having a lot more conversation with MEP manufacturers that are out there that are 100% modularizing all of their MEP components, whether it's their stacks, whether it's vertical or horizontal lines. So you guys are now also in the process of looking at that and working with those manufacturers to come up with solutions?
So 1210 really sets the basis for that to happen. So really looking to help support manufacturers in that space on the regulatory side.
Yeah.
And then, as I mentioned, ICC, ES, and NTA can help support if manufacturers are looking for sort of a componentized or productized approach. We could potentially have those systems approved as a unit. And so you just show up to the job site with your evaluation service report that says this whole system has been evaluated. Code official, you don't have to go through that whole evaluation process again.
Right. I love it. I think, just like sheetrock's the Achilles heel of the modular and panelized industry, I think MEPs is right up there with them. If we could find a way to modularize that and componentize it, it'll go much smoother. All right, ICC MBI to 1200 in 2021.
Yeah, so 1200 and 1205 are really sort of, I don't know, I guess you can call them the grandfathers of the ICC standards development process. They sort of go hand in hand. So 1200 really provides the basis for manufacturers and designers to really sort of prove out that the offsite constructed components meet the same requirements of the building code as a site-built project would. So if you think back to sort of the history of building codes, they're not really written from the perspective of offsite construction. They're written from the primary perspective of, code official shows up to the job site, can see sort of what's happening. But now, if we're looking at offsite construction, a lot of that work happens in the factory, and the code official can't be there, to see sort of what's happening. And so what are the systems and processes that allow the same level or even better level of verification happen in the factory? And so 1200 really sets the sort of roles and responsibilities for designers and manufacturers to make sure that process works. And then 1205 is sort of the flip side of that. So how do regulators and third parties set up the systems to then verify that what's showing up at the job site meets the requirements? And so that's really sort of our mechanism to be able to address the challenges that first map that you showed, really, sort of illuminate or illustrate.
Sure. So let me ask you this, right? I see MBI is also on the logo, on the cover of that with your logo. They're just one of the associations that you work with on particular codes. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we certainly look to engage the sort of key stakeholders as part of the efforts around codes and standards development. But as you mentioned and Dom mentioned from the very top, the standards really come together and work because of the engagement of folks from across the industry. Right. So, while this is a ICC MBI, sort of led effort on the standards development, we need engagement from, folks that maybe don't participate in MBI, or designers or fabricators of, particular systems that may not fit sort of within the membership of MBI. So it's really about sort of getting stakeholders from across the industry together to identify the best solutions and put them down on paper and share them, more broadly.
Yeah, Dave, to emphasize Ryan's point, you don't have to be a member of the Code Council or MBI or anything in terms of participating in our standards updating process. So, I think this is a great example how we've sort of, taken a whole new approach to how we develop standards with the input of the industry stakeholders. So really, for us, it's the industry are the experts. They know the technology, they know the business, they know the needs. So, we're kind of looking to the industry to help drive this. We're kind of the facilitator, but really, this is an industry-led effort, and anyone in the industry can participate.
Yeah. And I think that's super important for people to really know out there, right? Because you're right. It's easy for the associations to be involved right out of the gate
Mhm.
because, that's what they're there doing.
What they
They're
do.
working for, the modular industry or the panelized industry or like SPCA with the components industry. But if you're not tied to any one of those industries, especially in the MVP space, anybody can get involved, especially if you have knowledge and you're an expert in the industry. And I think that's a really big point to put out there so everybody knows that. Perfect. So let's talk about engagement and how do people get involved, right? At a state level, at a local level. I mean, this isn't through the local builders association. If I say, hey, listen, well, let me not even just say it. I am considered an expert in the offsite industry, especially modular. I've built thousands of them over my years in doing it. And I want to help write code, but I don't belong to MBI or SBCA. How do I get involved in my local state, to make changes that work for us?
Yeah, so there's actually opportunities at the national, the local, and the state level as well. So as Dominic mentioned, the model code and standards development process is open to anyone. So our model code development process happens on a 3-year cycle. If folks see things in the model codes that don't work for them or they have better ideas, they can certainly make a proposed change and participate in the process. We're actually our next group of codes, actually proposals are due this coming January. So folks can think about sort of how that, what they see in the code that they could potentially change. And one of the things that we're likely to see in the next round is actually the incorporation of ICC MBI standards 1200 and 1205 within the 2027 International Building Code and International Residential Code. So folks are interested in seeing that, definitely encourage you to participate in the process. And then at the state and local level, the states and localities are at sort of very different cycles relative to sort of how frequently they update their codes, but there's opportunities to be involved in all of that work at the state and local level, encouraging folks to update codes, particularly to address a lot of the opportunities that are in the offsite construction space. So ICC has state and local government relations representatives that folks can reach out to, and they can fill you in on sort of what's happening at the state and local level. In the standards development process, actually ICC MBI 1200 and 1205 are going to be up for renewal pretty soon. So folks have ideas on that process and what's contained in those standards. I would certainly encourage you to apply to participate in those efforts. And then, get involved in your local associations. If you're a builder, your HBA. If you're a code official, there are ICC chapters. Manufacturing groups often have, sort of local representation as well, and they participate in the model code development process. So I think certainly lots of opportunities there. I think the other thing I'll mention is, if your state has not yet adopted ICC MBI standards 1200 and 1205, we are talking to many different states to get those standards adopted. Reach out to your legislators, encourage them, or regulators, and encourage them to look at the standards. We've already seen them adopted in Virginia and in Utah. They're proposed for adoption right now in Montana, Colorado, and a few other places have put out sort of draft regs. relative to the standards. So certainly encourage you to reach out to folks in those places, provide comments. We've also seen an endorsement from NAHB around those standards and really recognizing the opportunities that those provide to support efficiencies in the process. And then I'll invite everyone to engage at our upcoming conference in Long Beach, California, October 20th through 23rd. We'll have some great offsite construction activities there as well.
Listen, again, if you're just tuning into this conference is all the state officials for the most part come to this conference. So if you're having problems with offsite construction in your state with the local building officials or whatever the case is, I mean, I've been there. I've been told to rip off the sheetrock on a modular home because they didn't do a insulation inspection, right? I know the pain. But again, there are so many states and so many inspectors out there, and they're all trying to do the right thing, and that's protect us. But at the same level, you know, they have to stay educated. You can meet them here. You can come here. They can get to know you. You can look at some product that's going to be on display. You guys have over 100, I think, vendors going to be out there as well. But this is the place, if you're a local builder, developer, manufacturer of products, this is where you want to be to actually meet the folks, the people on the ground that are going to make the decision of pass or fail, right? And we all want to pass. So this is a great place to go. Did I get that right, Dominic?
Yeah, I think you nailed it, David. And you know, it's a great place to network. There'll be over 2,000 of our members there. There's some great educational opportunities, but as you probably would verify, one of the best things about these types of events is the networking, right?
Yeah.
So if you're having problems with someone from some certain state, you can network with the state coalition or the state building official or local building officials,
right.
And fire officials. We have a whole contingent of state, local, and federal regulators that will either answer questions or help you brainstorm ways to solve problems.
Listen, we all know that problems are solved by knowing people, right? Who do you know?
Yep.
Who can help you? Where can you get the resources? Most builders, developers, we all feel like we're out there on an island by ourselves and nobody's there to help us. And then all of a sudden we come together and we're like, oh, wow, look at this. We can get something done, right? And I think that's really where the value comes in. You get to meet Dominic, you're going to be there. Ryan, you're going to be there. And if you can't get the answers, Ryan and Dominic will have somebody on their team that can help you find those answers. But
Absolutely.
This is where it starts. If we want the offsite industry to go to the next level, then we need to be part of that participation. We need to jump in, pull our bootstraps up, and get to it because it's a lot of work. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so let's talk about the upcoming event in Long Beach. We talked about the importance of being there. But, this event itself, I mean, you got some fabulous, speakers that are going to be there and so many others.
Yeah, we have a stellar lineup. This happens to be ICC's 30th anniversary. We have over 100 years of experience with our legacy organizations, but this is our 30th year as a consolidated company. And so we kind of pulled out all the stops, and we have a great lineup of speakers and networking and social events that I think anyone in the offsite industry will find interesting and rewarding.
Well, that's what it's all about. Why don't we go to a couple comments here while we're at it, and then we're going to hop into wrapping up the event and what's happening there, and then Dom, what your future plans may look like. So,
future, oh boy.
Hey, Gabe Leal, I'm sorry. Hello, everyone, he says. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us, Gabe. Jason Van Nest. I love that name. Matthew Ford and I are at the Center for Offsite Construction, are jazzed to see that this chat gets started. Go Dave, go Ryan, go Dominic. You forgot Dominic on that, but that's good. Thanks for joining us, Jason. Appreciate you. Hey, Steve Dubin. What's happening, Steve? Good morning from Napa, California. Great topic for DCL show. Glad to listen in. The disconnect between code implementation and code enforcement is a wider gap than either group thinks it is. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's part of what we're trying to misspell the truth. And guess what? The ICC is not the enemy, right? Hey, we should make a movie. We could have a movie on this. Right. We should do it. We should do a movie. You know, the builders and developers against the ICC. But you guys aren't the enemies. There's codes out there, and they need to be rewritten and reworked. And you guys need all the help you can get because, like you said, Dominic said very clearly, it's all of you out there that are doing the work that understand it best.
That's right. You know, I've worked with builders and developers my entire career, David, and I know you have too. And you know, I've never found one builder that just told me they want to build an unsafe home.
Right.
But what builders want to know, they want to know what the rules are, and they don't want them to change.
That's right.
You know, keep it simple, and that's where really our focus is. Try to develop a consistent, level playing field so people in the industry can compete.
100%, and not make the code so out of control that it gets so expensive, right? Because that's the other side of it too, is, you know, implementing to reach that code. At some points, you know, I'm sure it gets a little bit nutty when you're looking at it and saying, oh my gosh, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's all something that has to take account. All right, Connor Dillon. Hey, Connor. Curious, how is the ICC going to incorporate standards for inspecting offsite construction? Will it be through NTA?
Yeah, so I mentioned standards 1200 and 1205, which really cover sort of the inspection related requirements. There is a group looking at incorporating those standards into the IBC and IRC for 2027. So that would be sort of the mechanism to be able to do that at the model code level. And then, as I mentioned, you know, we're working with states to adopt 1200 and 1205 into their regulatory processes. So that would make it more efficient as well in those states.
Awesome. Connor, thank you for tuning in. All right, here's some tongue twisters coming, so bear with me on this one. Henry Mickelberg, how are you, Henry? So if I was altruistic enough, I'm not for clarity, to come up with a ubiquitous set of overreaching international codes to simplify the approvals process, I would have a substantial spreadsheet which confirms which ICC code superseded others, disparate codes. Do you have one of these, and what legal proof do you have for the abridged approvals? That's a great question.
Maybe not in the level of detail that Henry would like, but we do track, you know, where codes are adopted, what edition they're on, for sort of most states and major localities. We have a sense of sort of any amendments made. So we do track that. If you go to codeadoptions.iccsafe.org, you can see sort of where states are. FEMA tracks a lot of that information as well. So they have a building code adoption tool or tracker where you can sort of get that information. It is pretty complicated. You have, you know, sort of 50 states doing their own thing, plus some states, you know, leave it up to localities. So it gets a little bit complicated. But I'll also point you to some publications that we have. We do significant changes. So each time the code gets updated, if there are, you know, particular changes, you know, from edition to edition, we'll capture those, provide reasons why, you know, those changes have happened. And so hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, listen, anything we can do to help. Henry, why don't you volunteer to write that book? Just saying. I don't know. All right, we got a couple more quick follow-ups, and we're going to wrap it up here. We're a little bit over on time, so I apologize. Connor's at it again. He said, and he has two questions here. Is the ICC working with other standard developers like ResNet to create off-site inspection standards? This is his first question.
Good question.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with ResNet, actually, not specifically on sort of the offsite construction side per se, but really trying to look at sort of the overall opportunities to help advance approvals on the sort of energy and water conservation side. One standard that I will mention that we are currently working on with ResNet is on remote virtual inspections for energy and water conservation related requirements. So, whether that's the energy code, plumbing code, or, as part of a HERS rating, where are the opportunities to leverage remote virtual inspection to support those processes?
Excellent. All right, this is the last question we're going to have time for today, but I'm going to give it to Connor because he's been very active today. So thank you, Connor, for joining us. Is the ICC NTA going to get approved by the Energy Star program for the manufactured home tax credit?
That is a good question. I don't know offhand, but we can talk to the NTA team and find out, because they do actually a lot of work with the manufactured housing industry as well. So yeah, let us find out.
Love it. Love it. All right, Dominic, now you're moving on, right? You got, this is your last year as the CEO for the ICC. You've been there for several years now. You're going to have a little retirement shindig, I'm thinking, at the International Code Council Conference, right? We're going to go out and have some fun.
Oh, yeah. The beer will be flowing.
Yeah, perfect. You're stepping down. Who's stepping up?
Oh, yeah. Actually, we haven't. I don't know that we've made any public announcements. So your audience is going to be the first to hear that. After a lengthy search, our board of directors has picked John Belsick. He is the ICC CFO and COO to take my place when I leave at the end of the year. And I know you and your audience will get to know John, I hope, on a future podcast, Dave. He's a great guy, works out of our Country Club Hills office in Chicago, and really, knows the organization and knows the industry quite well. So I don't think ICC is going to miss a beat.
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll miss a beat, but we will miss you, Dominic. You've been a great supporter of what we've been doing, and obviously you're a big supporter of all the work Ryan's been doing with his team, and I think that's really important because it all starts at the top. The culture starts at the top, and I know that's a very important thing. So that if that culture continues, I think the ICC is going to be even getting bigger, badder, and be less of the enemy, because you're not. And I think that's what everybody has to understand. You guys are awesome. So outside of that, what have I left out, gentlemen? What have we not talked about that you want to get out there other than this awesome conference right here that everybody should be attending? Because if you're not, foolish. Ryan, you got anything? What do you got?
I think the only thing I'll add, and we sort of alluded to it a little bit, is the codes and standards process is open to everyone. It's not sort of ICC is this black box that develops a code and then sort of pushes it on to everyone. The process is open. If you have good ideas, participate, and you can help move sort of the code landscape forward.
Yeah, that's right. Come out to the conference.
And Dave, if members of your audience are really, really interested in making a difference, having an impact, as Ryan mentioned, we update our codes and standards periodically, and we're always looking for smart folks to sit on committees, and it's those committees that really do the bulk of the work. Yeah. So, anyone is eligible to apply for a committee seat, and put some real energy into making a difference.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I had the opportunity years ago at Operation Finally Home interviewing a pretty high-level rock star who was a supporter. And I said, well, how do people get involved? And he looks at me and he goes, just get involved. Yeah. It was that simple, right? So if you want to see change, you got to be involved. You can't sit there and point the finger at everybody because you don't see it or like what's happening. Be part of the solution that's out there. Hey, a big shout out from Matthew Ford. Just a shout out to Dominic, he says, from a fellow Ohioan familiar, been to a couple Youngstown Penguins games over there.
Hey, there you go. Go Penguins.
Awesome. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And you're always welcome. And Dominic, it'd be great if you can make an introduction to the incoming CEO. Maybe we're in California, and love to have him on the show, and we can get the year started off with a bang.
Great idea. Consider it done, Dave.
All right, and we'll have you back on too. I know you're going to have some announcements, hopefully, on what you got coming up. You're not retiring, are you?
No, I'm just changing jobs.
There you go. Perfect. And Ryan, how about you? You're sticking with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for the ride.
Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, thank you so much. You guys all have a great after the rest of your afternoon. And for the rest of you out there, guess what? It's Monday. We got 4.5 days left to build it better. So get off your hands, stop watching my show, and get out there and do something, because that's the only way it's going to get done. I'm Dave Cooper, and make sure you give these supporting members a big shout out as well. You guys stay right there. I'll come back to you at the end of the show. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you, and as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.